Okay, welcome back to Cooking with Stephen the Mad Cook. We're going to make a healthy pizza today. You're going to want to allow yourself at least 2 hours to do this. We're going to start off with some warm water, 1 cup. You'll notice I actually measure stuff out when I'm baking. The science demands it. We're going to add to the water 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using sea salt. You can use whatever kind you want. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of honey. No, I'm sorry, that's 2 teaspoons of honey. It's slow coming out. Now you'll notice I'm going to grab a different teaspoon for this because this is our yeast and we do not want the yeast getting wet. So 1 teaspoon of dry yeast. And let's mix this up thoroughly. And now, very important step, go away and leave it alone for 10 minutes. Okay, we're back and we have a little island in the water. That's yeast rising. It's a good thing. Now, we are going to add our olive oil, 2 tablespoons. And this is 3½ cups of all-purpose flour. And we'll start mixing it up, as you can see. And it's going to become difficult to mix very quickly. Then comes the fun part. We get to use our hands. It's very important to get to know what textures should look like. Especially if you're going to do very much baking. All that flour in there. You don't want it to be crumbly and loose, but you don't want it to be all wet and gooey either. You want it perfectly in between. See how it's not sticking all that much to my fingers? And it's getting kind of like a squishy Play-Doh. That's where we want it to be. Squishy Play-Doh. Just slightly moist, just enough moist so that it's holding together and actually picking things up off of your fingers instead of sticking to them. Okay. Now we roll it into a ball. our olive oil and coat it. Roll it around a little bit. Make sure it's good and coated in the olive oil. Now this is why it takes so long. At this point, you're going to cover it and leave it for about 45 minutes to an hour. Very important that you just leave it. That's why it's going to rise. It's got to be covered. We'll be back. And we're back. You should find that your dough has at least doubled in size at this point. Now we're going to do what I consider to be the craziest part of bread making. We've gone through all the trouble to get it to rise, and now we're going to squish it back down. Just punch it back down. And cover it back up. And now we're going to wait another 45 minutes to an hour.